Welcome to the Newsbrief podcast, where the everyday Christian can get caught up on a week's worth of news in 15 minutes without opinion and much bias. I am your host, Isaac Lopez, and this is presented by the Life Given Radio. Today we are going to do something a little different. We are going to shorten it. I didn't have as much time this week as I would have liked to have, but that's just the reality of it. 5 segments: politics, sports, health, faith, family, and freedom, and some good news. 5 stories each. Without further ado, let's jump in. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor has been voted off 2 committees: Committee on Education and Labor and the House Budget Committee. House Democrats cite that Taylor cited violence and conspiracy theories on social media. The vote was bipartisan, with 230 to 199 in favor of her removal. A recent Mexican law was passed that disallows the U.S. from rapidly turning away migrant families at the southwestern border. The previous administration allowed for migrants to be turned away, citing the threat of spreading the coronavirus. The Biden administration is scrambling, as they still think that this is a likely threat. President Biden announced a freeze on troop withdrawals from Germany. The Trump administration had been downsizing, but now Biden and his administration puts a hold on that. President Biden announced that he would be pulling his support from the Saudi-led military offensive. There has been engagement on the Arabian Peninsula in the last 5 years. Biden says that this war has to end. The former President Trump will not be present for his impeachment trial, his lawyer team stated. Their response to the House's request that Trump be present at the trial concludes with this: "As you certainly know, there is no such thing as a negative inference in this unconstitutional proceeding. Your letter only confirms what is known to everyone. You cannot prove your allegations against the 45th President of the United States, who is now a private citizen. The use of our Constitution to bring a purported impeachment proceeding is much too serious to try to play these games." And that concludes our segment on politics. The Super Bowl is set. Super Bowl 55 is set with a matchup between Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Tampa Bay will become the first team to play in their home stadium. With the approach of the Super Bowl, we have thankfully received some guidelines from the CDC. Instead of meeting in person, consider having a Zoom call or celebrating outside in the middle of February. Avoid using the bathroom at halftime, because that will decrease the amount of foot traffic that usually occurs during this time. Also, try not to cheer. Replace that with stomping and clapping. The NBA has in fact decided to hold their All-Star game in Georgia next month. A player for the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox, expressed his opinion: "If I'm going to be brutally honest, I think it's stupid. If we have to wear a mask and do all this for a regular game, then what's the point of bringing the All-Star game back? Obviously, money makes the world go round, so it is what it is." The MLB's Player Union formally rejected to delay the start of the baseball season by a month. This offer was made by MLB. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is lifting a ban on indoor contact sports in her state of Michigan. As long as safety guidelines are followed, she says, let them play. In our health segment, Johnson & Johnson recently submitted a 1-dose coronavirus vaccine to the FDA for approval, calling it a pivotal step forward to putting an end to this pandemic. President Biden reinstates travel restrictions. This report from Samuel Nias at the Life Given News. This ban applies to those who have spent 14 days prior in any of the following countries: the United Kingdom, the Republic of Ireland, the Federative Republic of Brazil, and so on and so forth. Republicans in Wisconsin's legislature voted Thursday to repeal the state's mask mandates. A report from Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Minutes after the vote, the governor there announced that he would be issuing a new mask mandate, saying, quote, "I promised I would never play politics with your health. No amount of vaccine in the world could bring back the lives we stand to lose if we have no statewide mitigation strategy." End quote. A new UK-based study has found that the majority of people this coming straight from the Blaze, who were previously infected with COVID-19 have very high levels of antibodies for 6 months or more following an initial infection, possibly protecting them from a second infection for that time period. The CDC now says that teachers do not need to receive the COVID-19 vaccine before schools can safely reopen. On to faith, family, and freedom. John Matza, the chief executive officer of the social media platform Parler, said on Wednesday that he was fired last week. Mr. Matza, who co-founded the site in 2018, said in an interview with New York Times he believes he was fired because of a difference in opinion with a prominent Republican political donor, Rebecca Mercer, who supports Parler. Prosecutors in Kenosha, Wisconsin are seeking to arrest Kyle Rittenhouse yet again for reportedly violating bail conditions. Prosecutors, and this coming from the Blaze once again, says that Rittenhouse violated his bail conditions in failing to provide an updated home address following an apparent move. Authorities still do not know where he is at this time. Unfortunately, on Tuesday, 3 Idaho Army National Guard pilots have been killed after a Black Hawk helicopter crash around Boise area. The incident happened during a routine training flight near Boise. The names of the deceased soldiers are being withheld pending notification of their next of kin. A New Mexico Democrat state senator has introduced a bill that could criminalize parents for teaching their children how to shoot, as these children are not considered an authorized user, according to the state's pro-gun group. The Catholic Church, in a report recently reported on by the Daily Beast, may have been the biggest beneficiary of the U.S. Payback Protection Program during this COVID-19 crisis. It reportedly raked in $3 billion in taxpayer-funded business relief. Now to conclude with some good news. A Louisiana mother, straight from this report at the Blaze, sacrificed her life to save her daughter last month by pretending to be her when 2 hitmen showed up at their home to carry out a murder for hire on the daughter. The mother, Brittany Cormier, 34, was found shot to death in her home on January 13th. Our thoughts and prayers go out to this family in this difficult time. Just in time for Super Bowl Sunday, Governor Phil Murphy has slightly relaxed indoor restrictions in New Jersey for increasing capacity limits from 25% to 35%, and restaurants are allowed to stay open past 10 p.m., according to an announcement he made on Wednesday. In San Francisco, city leaders are suing their own school district and Board of Education. City Attorney Dennis Herrera announced Wednesday that he has sued San Francisco Board of Education and San Francisco Unified School District for not opening back up. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, has introduced new legislative effort to crack down on big tech, intending to limit social media companies' ability to sell user information. And finally, in the first week that since Trump left office, CNN ratings during primetime hours, 8 p.m. through 10 p.m., have plummeted by a whopping 44%, according to Variety Intelligence Platform's analysis of the viewership data. Now, if you enjoy the Brief Newsbrief podcast, you may like the Brief newsletter, which will continue to have reporting like this. Sign up for that in the link below. I will admit that I did miss this week's just because of how busy I was, but we will try to get into a rhythm with that. If you want to drop a tip, email me at thebriefnewsbrief@gmail.com. Also, if you want more reporting from more reporters who share a similar vision to myself, check out TLG News, The Life-Given News, a site dedicated to reporting in succinct and honest ways. If you're interested in writing for TLG, reach out to me at thelifegivenandreceived@gmail.com. Follow me on the social medias if you want to know what else I am up to. If not, Don't worry about it. Stick around for this podcast. I'm almost everywhere. I'm on Gab, MeWe, Parler, if it ever comes back. Each day that passes, I'm more and more doubtful. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Remember who the real enemy is. Ephesians 6:12. God bless, and I will speak with you next Friday.